Hey guys, it's Brandon, aka B.Rich Beauty, aka your beauty best friend, and a happy Monday, y'all! Ooh, excuse me, didn't even do my vocal exercises this morning. Ooh, Oprah, Harry, Meghan. Yep, we're talking about that and Real Housewives of Atlanta. We got so much to cover. You know what to do. Grab your tea, grab your beverage, let go. Ciao, how was your weekend? I'm so froggy this morning. I feel like I'm talking in the key of basement this morning, or my Toni Braxton voice. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I actually had a slightly relaxing weekend. I know, unheard of. Let's just jump right into it because we have so much to talk about today. But let's talk about this hotel that's apparently about to open in 2027 in outer space. There's a new report of a hotel, I think it's going to be called the Voyager, that's scheduled to open in outer space in 2027. First of all, we can't even solve this pandemic. Second of all, we don't even have flying cars yet. And you want me to go and spend days, nights, morning, 7 whole days in outer space trapped up in a hotel that's shaped like a Ferris wheel? No ma'am. So apparently the goal is they want this hotel to be opened by 2027. Y'all, that's only 6 years from now, just for those that can't do math. I'm just so confused. Now, what do you do when you're at a hotel in outer space? It's not like you could do excursions. I can't go jet skiing. And on top of that, so they're saying they're trying to give people an experience. So you can go down to the hotel, restaurant, and bar and have like freeze-dried ice cream. Yay, exciting. Or some other space-inspired meal. If I wanted to eat space rations, I would order it off of Amazon and eat it here in America. In addition to this, they don't know how much this is going to cost yet. But again, let's just think about it. How y'all get in there? Y'all can't take a flight. American Airlines doesn't fly straight to the space hotel. So apparently you got to be carried there in somebody's Elon Musk space missile. I don't know. But you got to get there somehow. And so you got to get there on a space missile. And then you got to do the transfer between the vessel to the hotel. And then you got to do check-in. Like, this reminds me of a cruise ship. You can't, once you get on board, especially if you're working at this hotel, you are stuck in outer space for a good 6 to 9 months. This is not, I am gone for a weekend and I'm coming back. Like, you are gone for a couple of weeks. And they said they want people to be able to live, work, and play in outer space. I'm down for working from home, but who Wi-Fi y'all using? Because when I'm on this go-go in-flight on American, 30,000 feet above the ground, the Wi-Fi is trash. What kind of Wi-Fi y'all got out there in outer space for people to be out there working from outer space? Listen, I'm down for innovation and I'm down for science, but something about this inaugural hotel, all these firsts, screams to me I'm holding on to a door in the freezing cold of outer space, the a la very Titanic, the way Rose was holding on to that door in that freezing cold of ocean. Not that I'm saying anything bad's about to happen. I'm just saying, but this feels like the orchestra might be playing to the very last second. Let's move on. Y'all know I'm lazy, right? I still have not bought my Advanced Night Repair moisturizer, so I'm using this Hangover Good in Bed. It's supposed to be used at night, but you know, I want the skin to look nice and plump and supple. So this is the Hangover Good in Bed Ultra Replenishing Hydrating Serum with hyaluronic acid, coconut water, dragon fruit, and vitamin B5. Yum. It makes my skin look real nice and plump because it locks in a lot of moisture. So I'm using this. Just, you know, I know that you guys, my beauty besties, are like, what's that? All right, we got to talk about it. Meghan, Harry, Oprah. Did you guys watch last night? 2 hours of tea, honey. Not only just regular tea, this was one of them hot toddy teas. It was spicy. It was juicy. It was warm. And they started off out the gate with Oprah saying that they were not paid for that interview, that they did not know what questions Oprah was going to ask them, and that they are going to be open and truthful with the entire experience. Now, the getcha gotcha is they didn't get paid for this interview at all. Not $1 and one dime. And you know what I think is really messed up? Because again, as we're going to talk about the media is still spinning headlines to make it seem like they got paid. Like, there's a headline that says CBS paid $7 million for this interview. Well, they did. Guess who they paid that $7 million to? Lady O and her production company. Meghan and Harry did not get $7 million for this at all. Now, here's my thing, because you know Oprah's their friend. You think Oprah's giving them a little bit of a backhanded cut when they come on over for, Sunday dinner? You think she's sliding them a few stacks of cash out of that $7 million? Or, because I got my entrepreneurial hat on this morning, or do you think Oprah is taking that money and reallocating it? Because she also said in the interview at one point that Oprah and Harry were collaborating on a mental health series for Apple TV. So do you think Oprah's production company is going to be like, well, here you go, here's a signing bonus for this project in order for them to get some type of coinage from this interview? Because you're not going to tell me I offered up my entire life, honey, and my life within the royal family, and you got paid $7 million and I'm doing this for the free ski? Nothing in life is ever free, but let's jump into the juiciness of it all. So I'm rapid fire topics today as it comes to me. So first up, I think Oprah mentioned, did she have any expectations of Meghan going into the royal family? And Meghan says she went in naively. And I can understand that. And here's why. We live in America. At least I live in America. The only type of British, knowledge that I know is what I've learned in school, the small amount, what I've seen on television, and the stories I've heard. Because, I also speak the language of The Crown on Netflix. Thank you so much, Netflix and The Crown. Other than that, we don't know what the intricacies of the roles of being a royal, a senior member of the family, what they're expected to do, the isolation that goes into it. We don't know any of that. Now, with that being said, Meghan says she went into it a little naive. Also, she was willing to learn, so much so, and it was funny because she said there were so many small little things that they didn't teach her that she took it upon herself to learn. So, for example, learning the hymnals for church service or the British national anthem. And I thought about it. I was like, girl, that's a real, actual, a logical thing to do. Because she's like, I'm doing my homework so I can fit right in. My black behind would have been humming the national anthem, talking about, oops, wrong anthem. Like, I would have been the same. I would have been a kid that was like, oh, wait, where, y'all ever seen the movie Birdcage when they're like, I don't know where I am until I hear my name called? That would have been one of those things. They're like, I don't know where I am until I hear the national anthem. Because I would have literally been like, oh, say, can you see? But the fact that she literally said, I took it upon myself up at night, Harry's helping me learn these things, says that she wanted to assimilate. One of the other things I also want to preface is, even though this interview was, all types of juiciness tea, you could tell that they were still very mindful of their words, how they delivered certain things, and how they also answered. Because what Meghan makes it very clear is that there's two sides to this thing. You have the firm / the institution, which is actually the business of the crown, and you have the actual family, the queen, the father-in-law, the brother-in-law, the sister-in-law, the aunts, the uncles, and the family, she says, was a lot more welcoming. And I thought it was really endearing because she tells a story about the first time she met the queen. She says that she and Harry were on their way over to, I guess, the cottages where some of the royal family members live for lunch, and that the queen was finishing church service in Windsor and was going over to have lunch with the family. And she said in the car, that's when Harry was like, by the way, my grandmother is going to be over there for lunch. Do you know how to curtsy? I don't know. Harry's accent is completely not like that. But in that moment, I feel like I should throw in my little English accent for you all. But she said that Harry asked her in the car, do you know how to curtsy? And her response, and I think her response might have been one of mine too, and she was just like, well, wait, it's just lunch. I thought I only had to curtsy essentially if we were out in public or for official things. Like, this is still your grandmother. By genealogy, yes, she is the grandmother. But as Harry said, she's the queen. She's Her Majesty the Queen. Right. Grandmother is the queen, so you gotta curtsy, sis. So apparently she was out front practicing her curtsy before she went in. And side note, is it just me that only knows how to curtsy? Like, I'm not even British. I didn't even grow up over there, but I know how to curtsy. Don't judge me. And if you ask any of my friends during this pandemic, I was either curtsying at them or bowing because I wasn't hugging nobody. But the grandmother, Her Majesty the Queen herself, has been lovely to her. She talks about a time where she invited her on a tour with her, and Her Majesty had a blanket across her knees because she was cold, and she goes, it was a little chilly, and Her Majesty invited Meghan to share the blanket with her. So very humane stories, but let's talk about the fact that this institution itself is broken and effed up also. Oprah asked her, were you silent or were you silenced? And basically, Meghan said she was silenced. Her and everybody else in her circle was always told to say no comment, and that the crown, the firm, the institution would protect them. So apparently Meghan doesn't read any of, the blogs or the news. I don't know how that works, because it's 2021. Since you ain't got a television, you ain't got a radio, you ain't got a cell phone, you ain't got a newspaper, you ain't got friends. Oh, I guess she got friends, and that's how she learns things, because her family members or friends would be like, oh my God, are you seeing this? This is really, really bad. But apparently she doesn't read anything. Okay. I don't know if I can be that person. I don't know. Because news is so surrounding us, and I guess it must be different in this vacuum called the monarch and the royal family. But for her to be able to not know what's happening or what's being said about her, and to only hear things when it's brought to your attention is, a little scary at times as well, because it totally removes you from reality. But they were told to always say no comment and that the firm will protect them. And obviously, she understood. She said, one of my biggest regrets is me believing that they would protect me, because these comments would come out, these tabloids would come out with all these horrible things, and her friends would say, Meghan, this is really, really bad. And she would, in her logic, defend and be like, well, no, it's being taken care of. They're protecting me. We know at the end of the day, they weren't protecting her. And that goes back to this old-ass institution and this old-ass institutional racism. Because what Meghan shares to us, and I thought it was quite eye-opening, is that Kate's cry heard around the world was actually reverse. Kate made Meghan cry, right? And, Kate says she moved on. Good for Oprah asking what was it about. And Kate said it's unfair to bring it up because I've forgiven her and we've moved on. But it's those spins that the media has taken. And she goes, what do you also expect? She goes, and this got the tea for this one. This is what I thought was real juicy. She said that the palace hosts Christmas parties for some of the tabloids every year, because by doing so, it creates a relationship with them. So that way, that if somebody is going to be written about in a tabloid, they get written about in a very favorable light. That's smart, yet scary. And if that's the case, why did they not protect Meghan? Like, these tabloids ain't Meghan alive. Let's also not forget that Meghan shared that a lot of the frustration also came from the firm not even just setting the record straight with truth. She said the firm knew about the situation with Kate, but they still did not change the narrative by telling the truth. And can we also really talk about the fact that, Meghan dropped the huge bomb that when Archie was about to be born, they came to them and said Archie was not going to get a title, which blows my mind, because Archie, his birthright is to be just like Princess Charlotte. He should have been Prince Archie. Archie wasn't going to get a title. He wasn't going to get security. They were going to lose security. And then there was questions about how dark his skin was going to be. And you know what really blew my mind? As I had that jaw-dropping moment, Oprah did too. Oprah let out a what? And that, you got to love Oprah and her blackisms at times. Oprah's what was like your auntie or your mother when you came home as a kid and was like, Mommy, such and such called me the N-word. What? Who said that? And that is what Auntie Oprah gave that moment. She said, what? Who had that conversation? And Meghan couldn't say. Meghan was like, it happened with Harry, but she could not come up off of that one right there. But when I tell you those are fighting words, you could feel my mouth was I can't even get it out. Mouth was wide open. Oprah's jaw was dropped. Like, that does not highlight the craziness that she was immersed in this vacuum, feeling like she couldn't breathe. She talks about being isolated and how, she wanted to leave the house to go have lunch with friends, and they're saying no because you're overly saturated in the papers right now. She's like, well, that's not my fault. I haven't been out the house I've been at the house twice in 4 months. Like, how is that my problem? And so, the feeling of isolation and feeling like you can't go on, like Harry knew he had to get her out. And as he said, I could see what was about to happen. And I did not want history to repeat itself. Because let me tell you something, this family was about to allow history to repeat itself between the conversations that family members had with them in the firm and the conversation they had with HR. By the way, I guess HR within the crown is a real thing. They had conversations with HR and it all fell on deaf ears, right? So they had asked to take a less senior role as members of the royal family. And you know what I thought was really interesting when she put it into perspective? She says, Oprah, we wasn't asking to leave our roles altogether. We were just asking to take a step back because we needed the breath. We needed the room to breathe. And she goes, those roles exist. And when I think about it, because, I watched The Crown, those roles do exist. Princess Margaret, the Queen's sister, has, took a lesser role. Eugenia, all of those royal members that still live a very comfortable lifestyle, that show up for things when the Queen needs them to do, they do it, but they're not expected to be on 100% of the time, which is what was happening with Harry and Meghan. They were on 100% of the time because they were the most senior. And on top of that, they were being attacked from every angle without being protected. And they wanted just the simplicity of being able to say, we're going to step back some and we won't show up to every single event. And the Crown said no. Not only did the Crown say no, the Crown said no out of spite. And you could tell it was out of spite. Because when they said we want a lesser role, and we can do this lesser role in New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, even in Canada, even though they moved to Canada. And they moved to Canada on purpose because it was Commonwealth. But when Harry said he got cut off financially in the first quarter of 2020, I thought so many different things. One, you cut a family member off, a royal family member off, while they're in Canada in the middle of a pandemic. Two, you take away Harry's security that he should have and is deserving to have because he's a prince. And you take away the security from his family. And like Harry said, don't take my security away. Because at this point, you left us vulnerable. Everybody knows where we live here in Canada. It's nonstop, and now you're cutting us off financially, and you're taking our security away. We have no other choice now to pick up and leave and go someplace else. So while they were making the mad dash down to the U.S., guess who came through for them in a clutch? Uncle Tyler Perry. They moved into Tyler Perry's California home for 3 months while they were waiting for their home, while they were trying to buy their home. Now, can you imagine couch surfing? Your Royal Highness is couch surfing on Tyler Perry's couch. Not only are you couch surfing on Tyler Perry's couch, you over here, Tyler Perry's also providing your ADT security and your security team too. Like, that's some good friendship. And, shout out to Tyler. Tyler always comes. I will say this. I may not like a lot of Tyler's work, but I like Tyler as a human. Tyler comes through in a clutch, honey. Tyler says, hey, royalty. Hey, your majesty. Let me go ahead and run you my grand, spacious home from this billionaire over here to help y'all out until y'all get y'all stuff situated. I see you. Stay up. Oh, and by the way, I got security for y'all too. Come through, Uncle Tyler. Now, but I'm going to tell you something that really spoke to my spirit. Harry said because we got cut off, his father stopped taking his calls, which I think is real jacked up, right? And he said if it wasn't for the money my mom left me, we would not have been able to make it through. Baby, if that doesn't tell you something, if we talk about your ancestors looking out for you, if that is not he said my mom knew what was to come. And because of that, she took care of us, right? His mother in 2020 was able to protect her son against the British monarch in the media. Let that resonate in your spirit real quick. His mother's money that she left him, that obviously was probably split, the estate was probably split between Harry and William, got him and his family to safety. Diana knew the struggles of being in that family. Diana knew the isolation that came with living that life. And she was able to protect her child in death. But let's talk about the real elephant in the room. Because Oprah asked Harry, who had the conversation about skin tone? And he would not say. Now I'm going to tell you something. Something in my spirit says that conversation about skin tone came from either his father or his brother. And it probably came from one of the members in the firm that said, you need to talk to him about this. And that's why Harry was so, you could tell Harry was really hurt about whoever had that conversation with him. And that's how you know it came from somebody that was really important to Harry. Because the fact that you're bringing up skin tone and you're telling me you didn't take his security away, he's not getting a title, like your priorities are jacked up here. The fact that the Queen did an announcement before this interview aired asking for unity, because they knew that they didn't know what was going to come, but they knew whatever was going to come was going to make them look bad. And guess what? It should. Because as old and as revered as this institution is so effed up in terms of logic. The fact, again, going back to Charles, the fact that Charles cuts his own son off and stops talking to his child is crazy, because he took matters into his own hand. And let's not act like you're perfect either. You cheated on your wife with the mistress that you're now married to blatantly for years, right? Because you wanted to be happy. Your child had to move out of the country that he was born in order to be happy, to feel safe, because your family and the institution to the crown that you serve did not serve them. They had the nerve to tell Harry, well, Meghan might need to start acting again because there's not enough money to take care of her. Excuse me? There's not enough money to take care of her? When the Queen has these homes, gold-plated pianos, when there's money to be had, every orifice, there's some coinage there, but Meghan has to act? So you're saying she's not even good, her black skin is not even good enough for her to live the royal life that she married into, while also still serving the crown when she was serving the crown with public appearances. That you want this woman who's a whole royal, the Duchess of Sussex, to be starring on television, for her credit to say the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle? No. She retires like anybody else that would retire if they met. Kate's not still teaching preschool, because Kate was a preschool teacher. We have money for Kate? Exactly. And last but not least, I know we got to move on. Last but not least, Harry dropped the biggest bomb of all. They're all trapped. Harry was trapped and didn't realize it. William is trapped. Charles is trapped. Everybody's trapped and get out, and they're making it through. Now, don't get me wrong; they're making it through very glamorously, but again, essentially, they don't have control over their personal life, and Harry made that very clear for all of us. The good news is they're having a girl. This completes their family of 4, and they're over here making mad money on their own terms. So good luck to Harry and Meghan. Oprah did a great job. For those that don't understand what Meghan is going through, this is the interview to watch. And for those that don't, and Harry even mentioned and admitted that he didn't understand what the racism looked like until he physically was married to Meghan and coming home with her breastfeeding and crying at the same time because life was so overwhelming. So let's move into Real Housewives of Atlanta. A complete shift into reality TV. We are leaving the drama of, the royal family and talking about it. So let's talk about a few things. Why, Kenya, are we revisiting your season 2 or 3 storyline about your relationship with your mother? I'm telling you, this season is wearing me out. Bolo was the height of it. I need this not to die down after Bolo, but they need to continue to give me some things. And I'm over Kenya and this Cry Me a River, the relationship with my mother, the broken relationship gives me broken relationships in my real life. Wah, wah, wah. And girl, let it go. None of us care anymore. I mean, we all care. But none of us care anymore about who slept with Bolo, sis. You're back in Atlanta. Move on. Figure out your divorce situation. Figure out what's about to happen with you, Brooklyn, and Mark, as Mark still lives in New York. And let's move on. Now, I'm not a huge fan of LaToya, but I will say this. LaToya might be onto something. Who is supplying these wigs to Drew Sidora? One. Who is telling Drew Sidora she looks fine in these wigs? Drew in this wig right here looks like Miss Muffet just had a tuffet sitting on her her grains of whey. And I don't even know if that's the nursery rhyme to that or not, but this wig is horrible. Then she shows up to the pumpkin patch in this, and I get it, Kenya said everybody dressed in their best fall. But she showed up in orange latex looking like Storm's little sister, ready to battle some X-Men character. This wig is trash too. I mean, it's glued on real nice. But I can't with Drew in these wigs. And for Portia to be like, Drew, you know, girl, I always love your wigs. Quit lying, Portia, because I can see through your wig that you're lying. Okay? Drew and Kenya try to have a lunch and have the nerve. First of all, I have never in my history of any housewife franchise see an actual housewife pay for their own meal. But in this moment, for this constructed drama, Kenya asked for the check and Drew wanted to split a check. First of all, Kenya's meal was like $31. Drew's meal was like 20 something and some change. So let's round that up to $60. Drew, you want to split a $60 check, girl? And then when Kenya was like, I don't split checks, girl, I get it. In this moment, $60, girl, your wig costs a lot more than $60, right? Well, actually, maybe not Drew's wig because we see what Drew's wigs look like. But the fact that Drew then responds with, well, I split checks all the time with my friends. Okay. All right, girl. That's the same energy that King is coming for you about right here, right now in this moment. But I digress. Also, why is Drew warming up her voice four days in advance? Like, I get, sis, you got to sing at Cynthia's wedding, but you literally are doing vocal exercises 4 days in advance because you're hoarse. Girl, this might not be the wedding you want to debut these vocals at then if you got to start warming up 4 days in advance. That's like me warming up my car 4 days in advance to go driving in the snow. Makes no sense. And outside of that, I mean, it was really lackluster. They were in a pumpkin patch. Cynthia needs to get a dress for her mama. That's about it for me. And on that note, guys, I got to go. You know what to do. Subscribe to the channel if you like this video if you like, and leave me a comment. Most importantly, check those notifications and make sure they're turned on. Oh, child. After today's tea, I hope you guys have an amazing day and an amazing week. And on that note, I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye.